welcome back to the broadcast. My name is Kaylina and this is the Fox's Hideaway, and today we are celebrating our lions. We are getting ready to enter into Leo season, and so we are going to be talking everything Leo. So let's get started. Alright, so we're going to jump kind of right into it here. Pardon me if I mess anything up today. This dumbass decided it would be a wonderful idea to eat a bunch of coffee ice cream right before bed last night and then wondered why I was up literally all night. So I'm a little out of it today, but we are going to do this anyway because we are entering Leo season and we need to be on time. So first off, this is going to be just one really long video all about Leos. So it's going to be the part 1 and part 2 from the other videos that I did just in combination because I went ahead and did all the information together. So we're going to jump right into fire bodies. And so these are going to be our Aries, our Leos, and our Sagittariuses. The quality is hot and dry, and it stands for like vitality. It's very warm. It animates, enlivens, and protects us. The agent is transformation, and there's the spark behind like the brain, the heart, the muscles, the metabolism, and the digestion system, and the vision, and every chemical and enzymatic reaction in the body. And fire just naturally makes things go. So it moves in an upward direction and has speed and precision. So it reflects a healthy life force. The dry qualities gives it a very specific purpose, and it gives it a very narrow range of like margin of error. So for instance, how a fever helps to raise the body's temperature to help cure it from some kind of disease. And when it is off, it is very painfully obvious and oftentimes can be a little bit dangerous as well. So fire people naturally run just hotter and are highly mentally and physically active, so they tend to need more fuel as a whole. They desire a steady diet of inspiration and are agents of change. Naturally strong and robust, they are prone to accidents and injuries. Emergencies, rage, dehydration, and acidity are all kind of things that are under fire. They try to avoid lifestyles that are too hot or too fast, as it can snuff out fire's energy rather quick and can give them even inflammatory conditions down the road. So feeding different fire bodies, things that are going to decrease your fire, so when you're just feeling too hot, too much, eating things like cooling teas like chamomile or mint, lots of water, fish, fresh fruits and vegetable juices, high quality dairy, lemon and lime, lightly steamed or raw food, slow burning foods such as whole grains, water rich fruits such as like apples and melons and peaches and oranges, and then water rich vegetables like bell peppers and cabbage, celery, cucumbers, lettuce, mushrooms, and zucchini. Anything that's really full of a lot of water. So things that are going to increase your fire are going to be alliums like chives, garlic, leeks, onions, and shallots, iron-rich animal proteins such as beef, chicken, turkey, and sardines, quick-burning foods such as white rice and starchy vegetables, plant iron sources like beet greens, black-eyed peas, broccoli, chickpeas, collards, kale, lentils, molasses, pumpkin seeds, quinoa, and spinach, and traditional blood-building foods like beets and lamb and organ meats, which I'm not my preference, but cool. Warming spices such as cumin, curry, ginger, paprika, and turmeric, water with added minerals in it, and well-cooked food and hot drinks. Foods that are going to disturb fire is going to be anything kind of in excess. So that means excess alcohol, excess caffeine, oils above their smoke point, which seems to bother pretty much all the zodiacs, excess fried food, highly processed meats like bacon and sausage. All right. Other things about Leo. So Leo is ruled by the sun, and it rules over the heart. It's a very fixed sign, and so it kind of rules over everything involving the heart. So like the aorta, vena cava, heart itself, atrial system, muscles of the back, especially the mid-back and the spinal cord, the myelin sheaths that wrap around the nerves, the thoracic vertebrae, radius, ulna, and wrists, and muscles of the forearms. And the wrists and the forearms are definitely kind of underlooked, so kind of focus on those two. So Leo within food. So Leos are, I think, anything kind of over the top. And I feel like my ex-mother-in-law had some Leo in her when it came to this, because get-togethers and food were always very lavish, very over the top. I mean, she would be feeding maybe 3 people and she would have multiple dishes, multiple sides, multiple desserts. Like, that is Leo. Everything's all made from scratch, like homegrown, over the top and lavish. That is kind of Leo. They're the very hearth of the zodiac sign, and it just involves bringing everybody and everything together. And it brings everything that they love together as well. So heart food is both physical and emotional for Leos. One of the hottest signs of the zodiacs, and it mimics the height of summer, so a lot of fruits and vegetables, which you do find that kind of around this time of the year. I was talking to someone the other day who was talking about how it's just like so incredibly hot right now that, I think it's my new business people that I'm going to be working with at Cats and Crystals, but they were just talking about how it's so hot that sometimes it's like you don't even want to eat because you're just so hot. And so tons of fruits and vegetables, just lighter things that don't make you feel heavy because you're already heavy in sweat and stuff like that, that really helps. And so that is Leo's vibe. So they are a lot more like lighter and more cooling foods in nature. Some meat, but mostly plants. And Leos even find that kind of a vegetarian diet might actually work really well for them. Not saying that that's every single Leo, but it is possible that vegetarian style might work for them. But honestly, do whatever makes your body happy, because there's so many different styles of diet and whatnot, and nobody has the for sure answers for everything, so just do what makes your body feel good. Incorporate maybe some healthy oils like avocado and olive and coconut, different nut oils, and like seeds. They sometimes are attracted to just raw food just because it is lighter in nature. And another important thing for Leos could be antioxidant rich foods like acai, black sesame seeds, blueberries, cacao nibs, flaxseed meal, goji berries, grape tomatoes, matcha powder, nori granules, pomegranate seeds, pistachios, sliced almonds, unsweetened shredded coconut, and walnut pieces. And I don't know about you, but that just makes me think of a really nice kind of fresh tossed salad that's just super light for the really hot days. And I love salad. Can't eat very much of it because my stomach personally does not really love salad, but just like a fresh salad or a fresh taco salad, the best. With Leos, they do always need a touch of like I don't even know what word I'm saying. My words are going to be a scrambled mess, I can tell already, because when I am a little bit brain foggy, like I mumble and the words jumble together and things come out wrong. So I apologize in advance if this is a little rough. But they need like real butter and some creamy sauces and some dressings and some animal fat here and there. They're kind of very well rounded. They need a little bit of everything. So imbalances happen within Leo when things are not circulating right. And it causes a physical and emotional, like heart blockage almost, not maybe necessarily physically, but like the energy flow. It becomes blocked and it can get stuck kind of right in the chest area. And they can also experience like fainting and depression. They can it can cause like cellular damage in one area, and then it can also starve other areas of like nutrients and needed heat. So eat plenty of fiber, antioxidant-rich foods, iron-rich vegetables. Magnesium is probably the #1 nutrient that's most important for Leos. And you can find that in foods such as almonds, avocados, deep leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, and dark chocolate. You can also take supplements for magnesium as well. Just don't overtake anything. Like if your body feels fine, don't take excess, because magnesium can make you feel sick as well if you take too much of it. I'm pretty sure it can just, yeah, it cannot make you feel very good if you're taking too much of it. It also helps regulate contractions in the smooth muscles of the blood vessels and the heart. So Leos are very nourished by connection, so they like to be with people. Maybe take your meals outside, just eat in natural lighting. Those are all kind of Leo things to do. So if experiencing physical or emotional just kind of discomfort or congestion, she recommends that you place kind of a bolster or even like a tennis ball or a cushion kind of against your thoracic spine area, and that might force your chest to kind of open up a little bit more and give you a little more room to breathe. So next we're going to move on to Leo movements, and movement is going to be heart tending in nature, so a lot of cardiovascular type work. It's highly attuned to the solar cycles, so I'm also guessing it's probably going to be in tune with like solar flares and stuff too. So if you're feeling a little bit off, maybe check to see what the solar forecast is and what's going on, because that might be playing at least a little bit of a part. Like I've said in pretty much all my other videos, astrology is not like the end all. Don't judge your entire life and every single decision that you make based on astrology, because just don't. But this is just like reference, and sometimes these energies can contribute to certain things. Maybe not for everyone, maybe not all the time, but just kind of things to be aware of. So within the Leo section, they talk a lot about cyclical cardio, and so these are going to be things like cycling and jump rope and rowing and running and walking, anything that's just very repetitive in nature. It's great for creating global blood flow, which circulates nourishment throughout the body and healing substances as well throughout the body. It's also just a natural mood booster as well, and I can attest to that. I love to go on walks, like love to go on just long walks, kind of zone out, meditate while I walk, listen to nature, hear the birds, observe the plants, take pictures, just something to get you kind of in that Zen space. However, Leos can get kind of locked down into one specific type or one type of speed, and that is not great. That can also cause inflammatory and just repetitive like injury, both physically and mentally, as well as like overuse injuries. So just be aware of that. Make sure you're mixing it up. They need both sustainable and unsustainable paces together to thrive. So strength and conditioning is going to be really important in this aspect, specifically in the back side of the body, twice as much as the front. So that back is going to be important to keep it strong. So for conditioning, you're going to also want to mix weighted and unweighted and cyclical movements together. Using weight helps the heart build strength as well as endurance. So it's recommended, or at least Claire recommends, like a 30-minute jog at a moderate pace that can be kept up to about an hour or so. Challenge the heart with varying speeds and intensities, and then it's kind of considered like a tempo run. For yoga, more vigorous aspects is actually going to be really good for Leo. However, do not do like hot yoga every single day. That is going to exasperate your Leo, and it's not recommended. So like sun salutations, incorporating like back bends and spinal twists and chest openers and just postures that open and support the mid-back. Obviously within your comfort level, do not be overextending your body and doing things that are going to inevitably hurt it more than help it. So just kind of know your limits. So planks and yoga push-ups, because let's bring the plank trend back. Also, like I mentioned before, strengthen your wrists and your forearms as well. And so other sport and type movements that might fall under a Leo category would be pretty much anything where you can be a leader. Maybe cheerleading, celebrity training methods, that cardio we've been talking about, circuit training classes, heart rate based interval classes such as Orange Theory, sports with performative element, competitive bodybuilding, dance games, and matches. All those things could fall under Leo. So next we're going to touch on some Leo conditions. This is definitely going to be in regards to kind of that heart that we were talking about, as well as maybe some back stuff and wrists and forearms. When the heart gets clouded over for Leo and its light is not shining through strong enough and it just feels kind of weak, Leos can actually become quite depressed, cold, or faint. If it becomes impeded for too many years, it can actually maybe lead to some heart disease stuff down the road. Now, obviously, some people are not going to believe in this kind of stuff, that they're just going to be like, this doesn't correlate at all, and that's fine if you believe that. But if you are really into that energy stuff and how your energy of your spiritual and emotional and mental side can turn into physical stuff down the road, I 100% believe that. I feel like my life has attested to that with my own medical stuff. But some people are going to be very firm believers that it has nothing to do with anything, and that's fine, whatever you want to believe. But if you do believe in this kind of stuff, which I personally do, then yeah, it could, if your heart is too closed up for too long, it is going to cause physical things to manifest down the line. And when a breakthrough does eventually happen for a Leo, it can be a bit theatrical in nature, both physically and emotionally. So other conditions to kind of look at are going to be back pain, any kind of chest tightness, pain and discomfort, circulatory issues, dehydration is a big one, demyelination and neurodegeneration, depression, heart disease, heart palpitations, heat rash and sunburn, as well as maybe skin cancer, heat stroke, high cholesterol, postural issues, scoliosis, which is never fun, seasonal affective disorder, spinal cord injury, compression or infection, spinal misalignments, syncope, which I don't remember what that means, tachycardia, and vitamin D deficiency. So they can get a distorted sense of self and pain and around purpose and their meaning. So later on, it's a thing that Leos definitely tend to feel like they need to be needed. And so when they don't have like a purpose, they kind of get lost a little bit. So Leos just have a natural magnetizing energy to them, which is lovely. They're usually very optimistic and outgoing and without being overly demanding, although they can be a little overbearing at times. So when the light becomes too harsh for them, they tend to be a bit overinflated. Insecurity definitely is a thing for them, and it kind of forces them to think that they need to be the biggest, the baddest, the best at everything, and they tend to make everyone know that as well. They take the all or nothing mentality. So be careful just not to be overzealous in one devotion or practice. Try to stay well-rounded. Can form a cardio addiction if they're not careful, and self-acceptance hinders on if a method is working or not. So when light is diminished for them, they tend to turn to find it in someone else, and they don't self-care very well. Their self-care is never aimed toward themselves. It's always aimed at someone else, because they tend to generate their light by giving it to other people and not necessarily giving it to themselves. So they need to find a balance of that. So the first part in regards to like health and nutrition, in regards to the other planets of Leo, we've got Mercury, which is a very creative and engaging placement. Mood and cognitive ability are sensitive to the solar seasons. Light therapy might help. Attached to dietary ideals long after they've stopped being productive. Prone to dehydration, related muscle spasms, as well as nerve pain in the wrists and forearms. That's rooted in thoracic spine. Naturally high cardiovascular capacity, but could have heart palpitations or flutters. So in Venus, you tend to get some of the disordered eating or exercising to create kind of a false sense of self-worth or value. Can feel weak and need extra fire-generating nutrients like iron, protein, or those B vitamins that we talked about to kind of help heart health. Like movement modalities that are fun and have a performance element to them can get lightheaded or dizzy with extreme exertion, and should pay attention to pre-workout fueling and electrolyte intake. And I feel like that's just kind of Venus in general when it comes to exercise. They're like, we like doing some exercise, but anything too over the top is just too much. However, on the complete opposite side, you've got Mars, which here it gets extremely hot in this placement and may need some anti-inflammatory things on the menu occasionally. It can be aggravated by naturally hot and stimulating foods and spices, so just be aware of that. And it rapidly burns through protein here. Iron and B vitamins as well, and should be careful to get adequate amounts of all of that. But like I said, if your body is feeling fine, don't overdose. It's motivated by passion. If inactive for too long, it can become very restless and depression can sink in. Can experience high blood pressure and heat issues later in life, and loves the intensity rush, but be careful not to deplete or injure yourself. Get plenty of variation in whatever you choose to do. So Jupiter, this placement also accumulates a lot of heat, so you may need more cooling foods or even some raw plant-based stuff as well, more so than other Leo placements. Either excited for exercise or totally uninterested. It either goes one way or the other, doesn't really meet in the middle. And it needs a good mix of aerobic and anaerobic exercise to help with long-term cardiovascular health. Healthy competition or just getting together with somebody might help them get up and moving a bit. Next, you have your Saturn placement. Here it can experience constriction in heart and back. Watch your posture. Gentle walking after meals is also good, which honestly for digestion, I recommend that for anyone anyway. It just kind of helps get things moving. May prefer that cyclical, why am I having such a hard time with that word? Oh my gosh. Modalities over bursts of high intensity, and often can have great endurance here. Has the possibility of taking things too seriously, so maybe lighten up just a little bit. And strength and mobility exercises are important for the spine and to help prevent any injuries from happening. So Uranus may experience irregular electrical sensations in the chest and the spine. Things like heart flutters, arrhythmia, and shooting pains and spasms in the mid-back, which that's never fun at all. Also kind of maybe just keep an eye on your thyroid as well. Bursts of cardiovascular exercise may help relieve pent-up electrical static. And prone to overheating and rapid depletion of the sun's nutrients, needs plenty of water and occasional doses of magnesium and potentially vitamin D. Neptune may need extra sun and fire-generating nutrients like iron, protein, magnesium, vitamins D and A, and also the B vitamins as well. Heart and blood pressure may be on the weaker side, and could experience general feelings of faintness. Help promote circulation and strength in the back will help. So other Leo traits. Now we're just going to go into Leo in general. Their date starts on July 23rd to August 22nd. And they are, I feel like I say this with everyone because every zodiac sign has just really lovely characteristics as well as things that they need to work on. So, but they are usually very exuberant. They are very loyal and optimistic and just somewhat happy-go-lucky, and they have a lot of self-assurance as well as they can be a bit devoted to themselves. They are very comfortable in the spotlight. They have a flair for the dramatic. They're very witty and vivacious, and they tend to be very fluent talkers, electric, and they don't like to be bored or dull. They don't like that. They tend to make extremely splendid hosts and hostesses. They enjoy the luxuries of life and oftentimes don't really care what it costs. Their public image tends to be important to them. Most lavish spenders of all the zodiac. They're very generous and kind though, and open-hearted. And they tend to not really like to find the ill in others. They also may have a bit of a fiery temper if things aren't going their way, but they usually don't hold grudges and tend to forgive fairly easily. They are literally like the best friend that you could ask for within the zodiac signs. They do like to be appreciated, and they kind of almost expect praise and appreciation and admiration in return for whatever they do, but honestly, who doesn't like a good thank you or a pat on the back or a gold star when they've done something good? So pride, however, just like the lion, is kind of their worst enemy. They can have a bit of an ego at times and can be a little self-centered when their energy is off. And I always say this because there was a post the other day on Instagram that I saw that was talking about all the zodiac signs and how it was like, you know, Aries is not this and all the other ones as well. And I was like, okay, but they are when their energy is off. Just like they're delightful and wonderful to be around when they are on, you know, like when their energy is balanced and copacetic, and then they show their best traits, right? But when they're not showing their best traits, they are these things. And it doesn't mean that that makes you a bad person. It just gives you things to work on. So, and that's, like I said with the other videos, every single zodiac within your chart is going to have positives and negatives. We are not black and white. We are all a little bit morally gray and somewhere in the middle. So there is nothing wrong with that. And because I know some people get very fired up of, oh, I'm this and I'm not these traits. It's like, okay, but it's okay if you are, because you're working on it, you know? Like, and I think it's just, I think it's, I mean, I understand, like, some people don't like sharing their signs because they're like, well, I don't want someone to have, like, a preconceived notion of who I am and what I am. But honestly, even if you just look at the big three, that's still going to give you just the tip of the iceberg of what a person really is. You know, they have so many other signs and placements, and the planets in different signs and placements, and their houses are all different. Like, there's no way to just, like, judge a person based on their big three, you know? Like, so I don't think it's a big deal. I just feel like, you know, like, I don't know. Your chart makes you a well-rounded human being. So that's why I guess it doesn't really bother me if, and who gives a damn what other people think anyway? Yeah, I'm Virgo. Yeah, I can be bossy and a perfectionist, and I can be a little bit naggy sometimes. I own that. There's no big deal with owning the good and the bad. You know, it takes responsibility for yourself, and honestly, who cares? Who cares? Everyone's gonna have good and bad characteristics regardless of what their zodiac signs are. So I always feel like I go on that rant because people get like so bent out of shape and like upset about it, and it's like, okay, but even zodiac signs aside, you're still going to have traits that maybe aren't shown in the best light, we could say. You know, things that you're working on, your shadow self. Everyone has it, so I just don't think it's a big deal to share what you are. If you don't want to, great, that's fine, that's your prerogative. You know, I get it. But I don't think you should shy away from the helpfulness of astrology just because you're afraid someone might, you know, be privy to a trait that you want to keep hidden. Because odds are it's probably already coming out anyway. Alright, so back to Leos. Within business, you are definitely the one leading the pack, and you usually do it very well. You are not one to take orders, you are the one that likes to give orders, but you do it most of the time in a way that people do not mind working underneath you or beside you, because most of the time you're just as hard of a worker as you're asking everyone else to be. Very rarely are you lazy, like maybe sometimes, but not generally. You usually have a very cheery and enthusiastic disposition, and so people don't mind working for you. You don't back down from a challenge or confrontation either, so which makes you a good leader. You can be, like I said, a little bit overbearing at times, and you love giving advice to anyone who will listen, whether they asked you for it or not. But most of the time I feel like it's usually pretty good advice. I used to have a friend that was a Leo, and I worked with him, and he was a lot of these traits. I don't know what his other signs were, but he definitely did just have that very, and he was a manager, funny enough. So, but yeah. Anyway, so you have larger than life emotions. You can be very sensitive. You need to prove your worth to everybody. Next, we're going to talk about kind of like men and women within the love realm. This is very generalized, so don't take it at like, take everything with a grain of salt. Because obviously there's lots of different people and what you see yourself as, and so this may not fit for everybody. But typically, women or people that identify as female within the Leo realm, they love praise. You tend to have to overlook their shortcomings if you're going to be with them. They don't have eyes for anyone else. Like if you're the person dating them, keep your eyes on that person. However, they, on the other hand, tend to be a bit flirtatious with everybody around them. But if they think that they're a competition with anybody, that's going to be an instant turnoff. She can't lose. She will always have someone by her side. She can be a bit self-centered, intense drive towards self-realization, gives her heart without reservation, can be very intense and vital, uninhibited, doesn't hold anything back, very sensual, and maybe a bit kinky, so if that's your thing. Thrives in marriage, but living with her can have its overwhelming moments, and she can turn a bit bitter at times. So a Leo man falls in love easily, but hard to keep the emotion, has high drama and grand passion for everything that they do. When things are over, it's just over, and they're not going to explain, and you're not going to get an explanation, so it just kind of know that, I guess, going into it. Enjoys their partner to cater to their every whim, can be a little demanding and overbearing, slightly self-assured, but underneath he can be very sensitive and vulnerable and needs a lot of reassurance and praise. Sticks close to what he knows, but can also be very affectionate and cheerful companion, very kind, strong, and generous, successful in business, which is good because he also tends to like to spend. Can be a bit flamboyant, magnetic, an overachiever with a very sunny disposition. So for all the really good, there are also things that are maybe things that they need to work on, like I said, with all. Anyway, next we're going to go into Moon and Leo. So they are going to be very exuberant, creative, broad-minded, colorful, very fun and loving. They're going to be also self-indulgent, self-centered, conceited, overbearing, and a bit of a bully at times. power is positive and robust. Its dark side is less dark than other signs, which is nice. Gives great warmth and stability to the moon position. Idealistic quality, strong emotions ruled by the heart and not the head. So to get them to change their mind, you have to get them to change how they feel about it. They're a quick and accurate learner. Won't be hampered by other people's rules. They hate narrow and petty thinking. They like to be the center of attention, highly expressive, drawn to the theater, music, painting, and the arts, great sense of humor, personal charm, sense of excitement about them, sincere, open, and sociable. You lift people's spirits up. You're just pleasant to be around. You're very good in group enterprises. You tend to do better in groups than you do by yourself. And you often feel like you have a mission in life. So people tend to easily forgive you. Order giver, not order taker. You may have high levels of optimism and energy. Vanity is your weakness. You're fond of attention. You're drawn to luxuries. Like I said, you're a great host or hostess. You're a great romantic. You need a partner that makes you look good. Jealous and possessive towards the ones that you really love. You are, the other hand, a bit flirty yourself. And you have lots and lots of charisma. So Leo, as your ascendant sign or rising sign, you're very big-hearted, you're very expansive, benevolent, and kind. You don't find the bad in people. You don't like hurt or meanness amongst people. You just don't understand that. Great sense of showmanship to you. May appear a bit extravagant to other signs that maybe aren't quite so over the top. Lucky in money, career, and friendships. So the triple threat there. Can't ask for much more than that. In this particular area, you're maybe not the hardest worker, but you do succeed through the influence of others. So you have that going for you. Fame and fortune come to you when you aren't looking for it, and you can be a bit temperamental when you don't feel you get what you deserve. You have a wonderful sense of humor, large, so this is the description of a Leo, I guess. Large, beautiful head, thick hair, dazzling smile, bright, even teeth, and a stately bearing. At least that's what they said in the book. And you may benefit from an inheritance later in your life. So in this placement, it bestows enthusiasm, generosity, power, warmth, a very creative self-expression, passion, and courage. And then on the flip side, you can be a bit egotistical, arrogant, snobby, and conceit, as well as a bit condescending. So then the second part of the planets within Leo, Mercury, you're going to be very eloquent, skill for leading people, magnetic flair for dealing with all kinds of different people, superb organizer. You know how to direct, manage, and control a situation. You can be boastful and maybe a little arrogant, a fiery temper when things don't go your way, but you have a very kind heart, sunny disposition generally. People easily forgive you. You can be a bit showy, would rather play than work, but determined to be successful. Great enthusiasm, love the theater and performing arts, and hate tedious work. Venus in Leo is attracted to warm feelings. You're very magnetic, irresistibly likable, popularity, you're gonna win the popularity contest, extravagantly affectionate and generous, praise the people you care about in front of others, intense devotion and loyalty, lots of attention is needed, always dominant in a love affair, and capable of making a great self-sacrifice for someone else. So that's kind of a lovely placement for Leo. Mars in Leo is fire, is accentuated, you're never ordinary, you have a very dramatic sex drive, hot-blooded and impulsive, must dominate in affairs, demand a lot of attention, you're warm, expressive, ardent, and affectionate. Jupiter in Leo, you have a public appeal to you. You're suited for things like the theater, politics, television, movies, advertising even, public relations, entertainment industry, even the fashion industry, high-powered selling jobs. That's totally up your alley. Success can be a little too easy here, so it can make you a bit power hungry, but a lot of the times I guess that doesn't happen like a ton. Not as far as like being successful, but becoming like power hungry, like too successful. Luckiest times of the year is obviously when that sun is in the positions of Aries, Sagittarius, or your sign. So Saturn in Leo, this is a very proud and strong-willed position. You're very self-assured. You're authoritative in nature, good at organizing. You can be cold and analytical, but that's not always a bad thing. Sometimes, especially with certain jobs, you have to be that way. You fear being mediocre and ordinary. In career, you rise to great heights, but you may hit a downfall at its peak. Watch out for high blood pressure and heart ailments. Uranus in Leo is forceful personality. You have a desire to be a hero. Some opportunities are brought to you through romance, some luck and gambling, but I never recommend that, and can be too defiant and independent. Neptune in Leo, you have great courage here. You have good leadership and you're generous, dignified, ambitious. You have high aspirations and the ability to turn your dreams into reality. This is a sign of drama, a bit egotistical, as well as very sensual. So Pluto in Leo, when Pluto was last in Leo, it was, I believe it said like the roaring 20s. So, which I think would have been a very fun time to be alive. Maybe not after the fact when the Great Depression hit, but the roaring 20s itself, the whole Gatsby era, and I just think that would have been kind of a blast. So the personal influence is to emphasize love of power, a domineering ego, and self-aggrandizement. I have no idea what that word means. But it also confers on its natives a strong pride and will prevail despite obstacles. There's a tendency towards arrogance, selfishness, and the sensual. Pleasures, like sensual pleasures. Emphasis on mass hero worship of personalities in the media. So that is that, and then I'm going to read over like the sun placements of within each of the houses since Leo rules over the sun. That way you get an idea of that. So I will be right back. Okay, so let's go over these placements really quickly. So within your first house, which is your house of self, your sun in this placement is going to be very strong-willed, and you have a sense of self. You like lots of attention. You're an independent person with leadership ability. Your good points are healthy constitution, generous and confident, as well as dignified. Your bad points are authoritative, which I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, egotistical, and dictator, like a bit of a dictator, I guess, which I don't really think is necessarily true either, but that's my personal opinion. Next, you have your second house, and this is your house of possessions. So the sun here, you need security and tend to attract money, but it comes into and goes out of your life rather quickly. You like to spend on luxuries, and many of your possessions increase in value over time. You often gain through influential people. Good points, you're very generous, great reserves of strength, persistent, creative, and financial affairs. Your bad points are possessive, greedy, ostentatious. Money and possessions become status symbols. So your third house of communication, your sun here, you have an active, creative mind and need to communicate your ideas. Chances are you will be successful in writing, teaching, or lecturing. Your ability to express yourself often makes you a leader in your field. Good points are ability to study, fluent, cheerful, personality. Your bad points are disorganized, arrogant, tendency for misunderstandings with relatives. Next, your fourth house, house of home, also the early and later parts of your life. Sun here, you take pride in your home and family. From the time you were young, you had a deep need to establish roots. One or both of your parents was a dominant influence in your life. In some cases, you had to struggle for independence. Conditions surrounding the end of your life promise to be fortunate. Good points, you may benefit through inheritance. Bad point, you have a tendency to feel insecure, which I've been watching. I'm on the last season of The Bates Motel, and oh my god, that show is... Oh, it's such a tug of war with your emotions, man, because like each of the characters just have like major toxic flaws, but yet at the same time they have such deep love for each other, and like they really do believe that what they're doing is in the best interest of the other person. And it's just, oh my gosh, it's so complex and complicated, but it really just gives you, because I've never actually seen Psycho, which I need to go back and actually watch that movie now too. Now I have this I was putting on Instagram, I have this weird thing for creepy hotels apparently, because I work at a creepy hotel. The Shining is my favorite horror movie. I've been really enjoying The Bates Motel, and then I just recently watched Hazbin Hotel, and all of those involve like creepy, dark kind of hotels. So I don't know what that says about my character, but I have a thing for creepy hotels. Anywho, I would love to do like a deep dive into the multiple personality disorder and like the dissociative personality disorder, DID for short, and from a psychological like perspective of like different psychology books, and do a video on the Bates Motel. Of course, I am not a psychologist myself, but I would love to just do a lot more, a deep dive into that particular subject, because I feel like, not being a psychologist, but I feel like they've portrayed it fairly well. I could be 20% wrong, but it's just, I feel like it's a very complicated mental disorder, and it's just, I've really been enjoying it, and you see the humanness of them, but yet you see how toxic they are to each other, and you see the trauma behind why they are the way they are, and it just, you love and hate them, each of their characters, like so much, between Norma and Norman. And if anyone's seen it, I absolutely adore Dylan's character. He's hands down my favorite character in that show. My heart is happy for him. But anyway, I hope I'm on the last season, so I don't know how it all ends. Norma just died, but I'm really hoping Dylan gets a happy ending, because I feel like out of everyone, he's kind of been in the middle of everything. He's had a little bit of trauma from everybody, so I hope he gets a happy ending. I hope I'm not disappointed, because I know none of the other characters really get necessarily a super happy ending, but I want him to. I really want him to. Anyway, back to this. The 6th house is your house of service and of health. So your sun in this placement, you take pride in your work and have a talent for organization. You need to feel appreciated. Health tends to be good with strong recuperative powers, though you are subject to occasional nagging health problems. Good point, you're an efficient problem solver. Bad point, you can be fussy and difficult to work with. Who can't be, though, on a bad day, you know? 7th house, house of marriage and partnership. So the sun here, you are promised success in marriage and in partnerships. Both should bring maternal, monetary, and social benefits. You may not marry young. Your spouse will probably be prominent of good and honorable character. Well, I hope so. Sex is important to you in marriage. Your good points, you're popular and know how to attract people. Bad point, clashes at times because of your need to be dominant in relationships. Next, your 8th house. This is house of death and regeneration, also of your legacies. So your your sun here, you are philosophical and have deep insights. You strive for self-improvement. You may benefit from inheritance or from money through a marriage partner. There is the possibility of achieving fame near the end of your life or after death. Who wants it after death? You know, it's kind of like being an artist or a musician, and nobody cared about you while you were living, but the minute you hit the grave, everyone's like, oh my god, they were a genius. Like, that almost feels like pouring salt into a wound, you know? Like squeezing lemon juice over the top of it just to, seal the deal. I kind of want admiration while I'm alive, you know, if at all possible. Is that selfish? I don't know. Maybe, but anyway, your good points, you take pride in responsibilities. Bad points, you may suffer the early loss of a father or husband, which you know, take that all with a grain of salt because nobody wants to think about that kind of stuff. And honestly, I don't know how necessarily astrology would be able to 100% dictate that. But that could be me just trying to be in denial. I don't know. Your 10th house is all about your house of career. So your sun here, you have a strong sense of self and a drive to succeed. Chances are you will achieve success, but most likely in the middle of your life. Problems may arise if ambition and career take precedence over other concerns, such as marriage and relationships. Good point, leadership ability and power to influence others. Bad point, sometimes arrogant and dictatorial. So, yeah. 11th house, house of hopes and wishes, also of your friends. So sun here, you are socially popular, able to attract and keep friends. You usually benefit through their faith and support. You have high goals in life and optimism that wins others to your cause. Good points, idealistic and creative. Bad points, a tendency to be domineering with others. And then lastly, your 12th house, house of your deepest, darkest secrets. Sorrows and your self-undoing. Because who doesn't love that? You like private and quiet and the joys of meditation and reflection. Well, that's not all that bad. You may be reticent, what is with the big words in this book, or have difficulty expressing yourself and are close to only a few people. Success comes later in life rather than earlier. Good points, a deep spiritual understanding. Bad point, you tend to lead a secluded or lonely life. Honestly, sometimes, have you been in the world today? Sometimes lonely is not always the worst thing in the world. Okay, so we finished that video. I felt like I just rambled through all of that really fast, so hopefully some of that is actually audible and you can understand some of it. But that is the video today. If you enjoy the videos, please like, subscribe, ring the notification bells, all the stuff that every YouTuber has to say. And other than that, I hope everyone has a great upcoming week. We've got the full moon tonight, so I'm personally not really doing anything for that, but probably just because I'm sleep deprived and I don't want to burn too much other energy due to keeping my health in good shape. So yeah, but other than that, I'm going to end this video here. Be kind, stay curious, always speak your truth, and I'll see you next time for another video. Bye!